Yeah, we'll get to our team selector and match prediction now then. So we will pick our team to face the Foxes at Anfield. Alisson Becker, I'll make the brave shout saying he can be between the sticks, having been driving around listening to LA on loop. But Theo, what about the back four then? What are you thinking?
Trent at right back.
Yep.
Robertson back in at left back, which is harsh on Tsimikas, but Robertson is still first choice for now. I think I want to keep the centre backs the same because Leicester, we saw at Anfield, and actually saw at King Power as well. They like to run in behind the Liverpool defenders. They like to try and break that offside trap, and it has caused them problems in both those games. And with Vardy might be out, but they've still got Daka, they've still got Iheanacho. That is a lot of pace. Konate's got a bit more pace than Matip, so I think it's a good game to keep him with Van Dijk. He did pretty well against Cardiff, admittedly, Championship side. But if that is going to be a more long-term Liverpool partnership, we need to see a few more games from him to forge that relationship that he'd already forged with Gomez, with Matip. So yeah, those reasons why to change those, might as well keep them together, see what they can do against Leicester City.
Yeah, just quickly come back to you on that. As you say, you feel now it's kind of the time to actually. Konate's had enough time to kind of bed in, hasn't he? Actually, now give him a consistent run. And with Tsimikas, at what point does the question get asked that actually for a league game when Robertson is fit, he is put in ahead of him, not just because Robertson needs a rest, but actually due to his form, because this year he's been brilliant when he's been in.
Yes, he has. And Robertson did have a shaky start to the season with the Euros and the injury. But I think it's probably since the start of December, Robertson's been really good again. He's been getting lots of assists. He's been getting forward. Sort of didn't lose his way, but the pressure, the attention was taken off him when he got that red card. Like you sort of forgot that he was back to form, and he had to prove it again a little bit. But he's still been great for these last few weeks. And I know Klopp's come out and said he can't just stick with the players that have been good for him. He's got to choose the best team for today, not the best team for yesterday. But Robertson is still young enough to be in the best team for today when he's on form. It is harsh on Tsimikas because you'd say there's probably 18 teams in the Premier League he'd be first choice for. Depending on how strong you want to go on some of these fullbacks, I could say he's a lot better than a Kieran Tierney. Just see if I'm getting that reaction there. There it is.
I mean, you'd argue you'd even get in City's team given they don't really play with a left back. But
Cancelo anyway. Plays left back, so I didn't want to go for that one.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, you said you're picking a team for today. Matt, I want to know about Thursday's team. What's your back four?
I'm going to agree with Theo, actually. I'm going to bring Robertson in. Trent will definitely be in. And just sort of looking ahead, I think probably what Jurgen Klopp has done in the past is play Ibrahim Konate for a couple of games and then Matip for a couple of games. And where Joe Gomez fits into that, I'm not quite sure. He was incredibly unlucky to miss out, obviously, over the weekend. I was disappointed not to be able to see him because I still think he's got, a long future ahead of him at Liverpool if he can stay patient and find his way back to form and full fitness. So, yeah, I think you go with Konate for this one. Then have Matip for a couple and just continue like that, really. I think you've got to go strong, and given the fact that Konate has played over the weekend, I think it makes sense to keep with that rhythm and go again for him.
Richard, you're going to chop things up on your first team selector, or you going with the same back four?
I had Matip in it. All the rest of it was the same, but I did have Matip in it. I just think he's been outstanding, although I do think that Theo and Matt have made a very good case for the inclusion of Konate, and I do reserve the right to change my mind. But yeah, I did have Matip in, but I think Konate, the pace thing is a good point. So I'll back down.
Yeah, no, Matt, what about the midfield then?
Yeah, loads of options, isn't there? I mean, Fabinho, we would assume, would come back in. You'd imagine Jordan Henderson will be there. And I'm going to go with Thiago, which is probably on paper the strongest midfield Liverpool have. I think I'd probably go for those three. I know there'll be a lot of shouts for Harvey Elliott to come in, but I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case from the start just yet. I think there's, obviously Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain was like Gomez. He missed out. He could come in. You've got Milner and Keita and so many options. But yeah, even with everyone fit, I think for me, it still comes back to Fabinho, Henderson and Thiago. But I'm sure we might see another little glimpse of Harvey Elliott, hopefully off the sidelines.
Theo, what do you make of that? Are you going with that, or?
It's such a hard one now. They've got so many players available. Like But Thiago was the last sub brought on, wasn't he, against
Yeah.
Cardiff? Now, was he last man brought on because he was the one who was not as fit as Harvey Elliott, or because they're saving him for the Premier League games? It was just giving him a few minutes. You might as well tread carefully with some of these when you've got these options at your hand now. So I agree, you start Anderson, you start Fabinho. I'm assuming Fabinho was completely left out because he'd been away with Brazil. So it's like, I'll give him the weekend off, let him have a rest where most of his teammates had over the international break. And then Oxlade-Chamberlain, you don't want to rush him because we've seen a few players who've got COVID and then they've not been as good when they've come back. It's taken time. Let him have the minutes on the training pitch to get fully up to fitness again before putting him in. It'd be harsh on Curtis Jones to drop him. It'd be harsh on Naby Keita to drop him. Thiago, if it is just they brought him on last because they wanted to save him for Leicester, fair enough. Start's been this one because he on paper he is in that first choice Liverpool midfield. But I just think he was further down in his recovery. It was getting him those minutes as part of the recovery, like they did with Minamino against, was it Shrewsbury, I think, at the start of last month. So they're going to tread carefully with these players. So I'd say Naby Keita. I agree with Matt. We'll probably see Harvey Elliott off the bench. He's another one. You don't want to just rush too soon. It was a very exciting glimpse we got against Cardiff, but let's have a few more glimpses like that. And then he can start against Norwich in the FA Cup and then explode when they really need him to in like Champions League final or Champions League semi-final, something like that. Save him for when it really matters. Tread carefully with these players. They're coming back from injury. You've got the depth, use it.
Right, okay. So what were your three names?
Henderson, Fabinho, Keita.
Brilliant. Got there in the end. Richard, your midfield three?
I'd go with Henderson, Fabinho, and I'm going to play the wild card in Elliott. See what he can do from the start.
Going to go from the start. Stick with you then for your forward line. Your three names for the top end of the pitch.
I've changed this about 3 times already.
I was going to say, normally the stock answer is the front three, but it feels now as though we're going to have a bit of fun with this.
Used to be easy, didn't it? I'm gonna go Jota down the middle because I just think he's absolutely outstanding and has just made that position his own. And I haven't changed my mind from this morning. I've decided I think Mane is riding a crest of a wave now after last night and could have a positive impact coming back in. As long as with the travel and everything, they're okay. And I think it's inconceivable that you could leave Mo Salah out. So if they're fit and raring to go, I'd go with Salah, Jota, Mane, with Diaz to come off the bench and cause some fireworks and Firmino there to tidy things up as well.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see with all of that. Matt, your three names?
I'm going to go Jota off the left, Firmino in the middle, and Salah on the right. I think there is a good argument to make for Sadio Mane to be there, but I think the celebrations might have taken it out of him a little bit. I'm sure he'll be on the bench. I think he will probably come off the bench, but I don't know. Then you've got 2 players to come off the bench, haven't you, in Mane and Diaz, who both want to play in the same position. So it's a tough one, but I'm going to stick with Firmino and Jota on the left. And I think Mohamed Salah is just one of those players that if you don't play him, it only makes things worse for him. I think he'll want to get back on the pitch as soon as he possibly can. Yeah,
Mane's going to need a day's recovery for the 120 minutes he played and a day's recovery for all the dancing and celebrating he's done since lifting that trophy. Theo, what's your front three?
I'm going to agree with Firmino down the middle, Jota on the left. But I can't decide on that right one because I'd argue Salah's the one you need to have on the bench because he's had so many extra times over in Cameroon. I know he'll want to play. He'll want to put that disappointment behind him. You think maybe go out there and it would help him. But he's played a hell of a lot of football in, a week and a half. And it's going to take its toll. And then you've got the travelling as well. Mane's going to be on a high after winning the Cup of Nations. But then I think Klopp said it will be flying to Senegal now. And then he'll be coming back. So you don't know when he's actually going to return to training. So maybe you just put Diaz in there for a front three and you have either him or Jota out of position on the right and see what they can do just to give him a start and then take him off after an hour for Salah and Mane. But yeah, for this one, I reckon you can protect the African lads a little bit because it will have taken its toll. They've played a lot of football in a short space of time. And then the travelling, use the players you've actually been able to see in training. And it's going to be another 3 days in training for Diaz. If he can do what he did against Cardiff off 1-2 training sessions, it should put him in a good place to start.
Right, okay. Quickly then, match result predictions. Theo, Richard, then Matt. Theo, you're up first.
2-1 Liverpool.
Richard?
3-1 Liverpool. 3-1.
3-0.
Right, we'll have to wait and see if that is how it does play out at Anfield. Remember to stick across all of the build-up here on the Blood Red channel. Of course, plenty to come on the Liverpool Echo as well, where you can follow the match with the live match blog and plenty of post-match reaction. But for myself, Guy Clark, Matt Addison, Theo Squires and Richard Garnett, thanks for your time and your company. It's bye for now.